Hello, everybody in Twitch land. Welcome to a Friday, a brand new show here on Twitch, and I'm joined by Mr. Mike Mullin.
Hello, everyone.
We're really excited to just continue to make some really exciting content here on Twitch. And I'll start it by saying if you haven't been following us here, you can follow everything we do at Fueled by Deathcast, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and also at Deathwish Coffee across all of those platforms as well. And you can find out all of the cool content we're doing. Every Monday, we've been recapping the Game of Thrones final season, which has been crazy. Just this week, oh my gosh, all the weeks are running together. Myself and Chelsea recapped Avengers Endgame, and that's all up on our Twitch channel as well as Deathwish Coffee on YouTube. And you can find all of this content that we're doing all over there. But we have issues.
That's right, and we're here to talk about it.
Yes, we have lots of issues. We love comic books here at Deathwish Coffee. In fact, we make our own comic books. They're right on the wall back there, Odinforce. And we just love comic creators. I talk to them on the podcast all the time. I love doing that kind of stuff. And this was actually your idea, Mike. Why don't we make a show talking about our love of comic books? Because you and I both read books a lot. I know a lot of other people, which we're going to feature here on this show from Deathwish Coffee, will be a part of this too because they read comics. Comics are awesome.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best mediums, if not the best medium.
Probably the best mediums. You get words and pictures. I mean,
right.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
And I want to start off this talk by talking about what tomorrow is. First Saturday in May, every single year, free comic book day.
Free comic book day. What's not to like?
It's the best day of the year. Go to your local comic book shop. Find your local comic book shop. If you don't know where it is, I'm sure there's one in a 50-mile radius of wherever you are in America. And they participate. I 100% guarantee that they will have free comics for you to walk in and get. And the greatest thing about Free Comic Book Day is you could not only go and get a free comic, but it's a way to support your local business and, you know, pick up something maybe that you've been having your eye on or something you never read before. Like, man, I've seen all these movies about Guardians of the Galaxy, but I never read the book. Like, let me give it a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I know a lot of local shops have a lot of fun. They have cosplayers that come in. They do prizes, giveaways. They'll even have creators. I know ours in Saratoga has a couple artists and writers that are going to be there. That are going to be signing books, meeting people, taking photos, that kind of thing. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I know I go to the Aquilonia, which is in Troy. For anybody local.
Shout out to Aquilonia.
Shout out to Aquilonia. They always have creators and people signing books and they actually have a nice little local creators shelf now for like all of like the
that's awesome
comics. So
that's awesome. Well, shout out to the Comic Depot in Saratoga Springs, New York. That's the one I frequent, and I just love Free Comic Book Day because it brings, especially now in the world we live in, where comic book characters are the highest grossing movies in the world. You know, it's like they all stemmed from these books. And it's really cool to be able to go and read these stories because they last forever, and it's amazing. And that's why we wanted to do this show, kind of wanted to talk about those types of things. And I want to run down a couple of our picks for Free Comic Book Day. Now, the way Free Comic Book Day works, if it's new to you, is a lot of the different studios, Marvel, DC, Image, Boom, whatever they are, they'll just release a couple free issues of books. You know, like whatever they're trying to push for that year during Free Comic Book Day. And it's a great way to break into a story or revisit a story or that kind of thing. And there's some fun ones coming out this year. These are the ones we're going to talk about. I just picked the first 5 that I thought were really cool.
Yeah.
So first up, let me see if I can get this right here. Boom. Stranger Things.
I mean, who doesn't love Stranger Things?
Who doesn't love Stranger Things, right? First of all, Stranger Things is an incredible Netflix series. If you guys aren't watching it, go watch it. Season 3, July 4th. Can't frickin' wait for that. Oh, my God.
Feels like it's been so long.
Yeah, it really has.
Seasons.
It really, really has. But what's cool about, again, the world we live in with pop culture and stuff like that, a lot of what we love in pop culture gets extrapolated into comic books now.
Yeah.
You know, like you love this television show or you love this movie or something like that, and you can read more of it, of that story in a comic book.
Right.
Which is crazy to me if you think about it.
And I think, is this Dark Horse?
This is Dark Horse, yeah.
I think Dark Horse did trade already of a Stranger Things story following Will while he's like in the Upside Down.
So cool.
So yeah, if you're a Stranger Things fiend, you don't know about that already, I would highly recommend going to pick it up.
Totally. And
checking it out.
I also, I want to bring up, and I'll bring this up on a later episode actually, because it's one of my favorite lines out there, but Marvel's been killing it doing a Star Wars line. And as a huge Star Wars fan, of course I had to collect it. But what's really awesome is the story takes place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, because at the end of A New Hope, Leia gives out the medals, everybody, celebrates, and then you start Empire Strikes Back, and everybody's like been fighting for years.
Right.
Like they're in the thick of it, and it's like shit went down. It's like, and so there's like 60 issues or 60 plus issues of it out now, and it's all stories that happened within those years between those movies, which is really, so everybody's still alive. Han, Leia, Luke are all on their own missions. The droids are there. Vader's still around. The Emperor's still around. Jabba's still around. So you get like all of the cast of characters and kind of what they were up to, leading up to Empire. So it's awesome, and I'll bring that up. But I do want to read you what this book is all about, which I thought was cool. It's a split, actually. It's a Stranger Things and a Black Hammer split. In the Stranger Things story, Eleven and the Demogorgon have disappeared from Hawkins, Indiana, and Steve and Nancy try to cheer Mike up, encouraging him to get the adventuring party back together again. So, again, it is a story outside of what we've seen in the show, which is kind of cool. Written by Jody Houser and with art by Ibrahim Mustafa, who's an incredible artist. Kills the Demogorgon. Look, you see this on the cover. It's just awesome. And then the other side of it is the Black Hammer series, which is an Eisner Award-winning series from Dark Horse, written by one of my favorite writers, Jeff Lemire. And I actually haven't read Black Hammer. Have you read Black Hammer?
Black Hammer
is it really
super good? It's kind of like a ragtag group of superheroes. It kind of starts off the series as like these superheroes are forced to retire on this farm and lay low in this small town America town. And some strange things start happening. No pun intended.
I was told by somebody that it's like a cross between like Outer Limits and the Twilight Zone, but with superheroes.
Yeah, that's a pretty apt comparison.
Well, that's pretty cool. I definitely want to check it out, and you can check it out for free in this book. And this one is Madame Dragonfly takes the reader on an EC-style tour through her mysterious cabin of horrors to witness two groups of brand new Black Hammer heroes from the past. And for you guys who aren't, they're saying your mic's a little low. I'll bring that up a little bit, but maybe you can.
Yeah. I can probably
enunciate. Yeah.
Sure.
But I'll do that in a second. But I do want to say, if you guys don't know EC Horror, look that up. Some of the coolest comics and magazines back in the 50s and 60s were EC Horror. Some of the coolest stuff. And I'll be right back.
Nice. Yeah. I'll check out the mic. See if this gets any better for us. Can y'all hear us better? Anyway, anybody in the chat? A little better?
I think that might be better.
All right. Cool.
All right. So Stranger Things and Black Hammer. Now, another one that's coming out, obviously on the heels of the biggest movie in the world, Avengers, is the free comic book day from Marvel for Avengers. Now, this is going to do two things. It is going to feature a story by industry superstars Jason Aaron and Stefano Caselli that sets the stage for the main Avengers series just in time for Endgame. Now, comics and movies don't really correlate. Like there's way more stuff happening in comic books than is actually happening on the big screen. But this is going to kind of bridge that gap. So if you've never read an Avengers book, but you've only been a movie fan, it can kind of like bring you into that, which is a great way. Marvel is great at doing that. DC does a really good job with their movies too. Like something will happen on screen and they'll or on television, and then they'll give you a little taste of that in the comics, but let those characters do a lot more, because you can do so much more in comic books. Also, there's going to be a new 10-page story in this Avengers free book that sets up Savage Avengers. And Savage Avengers #1, I think, came out this week or is coming out next week. I can't wait to get it. It is like the Black Ops of Avengers. So it's Punisher, Wolverine, War Machine, a couple of Deadpool, I think, is on it.
Nice.
Like everybody who basically will go kill someone is on this Avengers team, and I think that's just going to be great. Savage Avengers, so that's going to set set up that, which is going to be cool. Third book I picked was for Free Comic Book Day, Odinforce. It's a Buffy the Vampire and Firefly split. Fan? Are you a fan of either?
Yeah, I mean, my relationship with Joss Whedon's a little complicated, I guess, but
isn't it for everybody?
But yeah, I mean, I remember watching Serenity when it came out and being like, "This is amazing. What is this from?" Because I was a little bit younger, and then checking out Firefly, and then it was almost maybe 3 years ago that a friend of mine was like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is actually awesome. It really so check that out. But yeah, I mean, this should be pretty cool. I'm excited for it because I'm a big fan of both of them. Full disclosure, I was in junior high and high school when Buffy was on television, and both myself and Eric Donovan, who works here at Death Wish Coffee, we would get out of school and I'd go over to his parents' house, and we would watch Buffy solely because Sarah Michelle Gellar and Allison Hannigan were hot. And I mean, it's like, well, get to watch this fun kind of magical show, but also with hot chicks in it. And it was cool. But I became a fan. That was why we started watching it. But I totally became a fan because it was a killer show. Right.
So this free book is going to give you both of these. First in the Firefly story, you're going to get Malcolm Reynolds and Zoe. They have a bond that was forged in blood in the war that shaped the verse. But there's an awful secret that will be revealed.
Oh no!
Getting more. The great thing about Firefly is we only got that one season, so there's 1,000 stories.
Oh my God, so much to extrapolate on.
That.
It's crazy.
And then in the Buffy story, there's something evil lurking under Sunnydale High School, namely a gateway to hell that's been foretold to destroy the world that we know it, which is basically the premise of
the setup
Buffy.
for the series.
Yeah, and this is kind of resetting it up to get you into the story arc again.
Nice.
Cool.
Cool.
Now, one of the reasons why Free Comic Book Day is so amazing is it gets you in the store, but it also gets you into these stories, that maybe you never thought you'd pick up before, and they're free, so why not? I leave with a stack every time I go to a Free Comic Book Day. Let's see, what else we got? I thought this was a good one to, like an all-ages book. Minecraft, Free Comic Book Day Minecraft. Again, is it weird that we live in a world where even our video games now are comic books?
Right, yeah. It almost makes a little bit more sense than, when I see it like a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book makes a little bit more sense than when I first started seeing like My Little Pony comic books and stuff like that. I don't know, but I feel like that there definitely is a lot of like a crossover between fandoms and stuff with certain, types of media, but I'm really interested to see like what this could possibly be about.
I don't know if you guys watching this live, if you are Minecraft fans, let me know why. My wife loves Minecraft. I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal. But not only is Minecraft one of the biggest games, but I know here on Twitch, people even watch other people play Minecraft, which even blows my mind even more. And now on Free Comic Book Day, you can go and get your free comic with Minecraft. And this is what they say: in the world of Minecraft, a heartless griefer, I hope I pronounced that right, runs rampant, but she discovers her actions end up having real-world consequences.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right. So we'll get that. And then the flip side of this book is an Incredibles 2 story. Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl are ready for a date night, but when someone is up to no good, Violet, Dash, and Jack Jack are determined that this villain will not ruin their parents' night off. Which sounds like fun.
Cute, yeah.
I mean, I love the Incredibles movies.
Yeah, they're great.
I think they're hilarious, and I think it's great that they can be in the comic verse and all that, so why not? The final book I picked is actually a redo of issue number 1 of Image Comics' Spawn. Did you ever read Spawn?
I've never read it, actually. So this will be the perfect opportunity for me to grab it. So
Todd McFarlane's baby. He wrote it, he drew it, and it is an incredible story about an ex-military guy who gets sent to hell, and then the devil's like, why don't you go back up to Earth and kill people for me? And the dude's like, all right, I'll do that. I mean, it's written way better than that. But that's basically the premise. This is the nostalgic look back at issue number 1. It's a free book, so you can get this book, and if you like it, then you can start finding the other issues if you want. And this is just in time for the release. We're getting that R-rated movie finally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jamie Foxx, Jeremy Renner, directed by Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn himself.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys are excited about it. I kind of am. I think it's one of those characters that will do really well, done well. That movie that they did back in the day with John Leguizamo and it was all right.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I've seen that. I
feel like the effects weren't at the point they should be.
Right.
And they really wrote it as more of like, let's make a blockbuster movie and let's not take from the source material. So this being directed by Todd McFarlane.
Oh, yeah.
Right off the bat, we're going to get actual Spawn. And then I think CGI's there to the point that, we can, because he's got a lot of super powery stuff. He's got a cape that kind of flows like Doctor Strange's cape on screen. He has all these chains that he can throw out like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat. He's got energy blasts that come from his eyes and his hands and all this other stuff. And like there's all this hellfire. And so it can get a little convoluted, but I'm excited about this movie.
Awesome, yeah.
I think it's going to be good. So what we wanted to do on this show was really just profess our love for comic books. I obviously started this week's out with Free Comic Book Day because that is tomorrow. May the 4th be with you.
Yes, and also with you.
And but what we want to do when we do these shows, I think we're going to do this every other week. We want to kind of talk about some comics that mean a lot to us and that, are older that maybe you watching, if you've never picked them up, will be like intrigued to go to your local comic shop and pick up these books. And then some books that we're reading at the moment that are current, and we're really jazzed on those too. So I want to kick it off to you, Mike, and start with you talking about some of we wanted to talk about like origin stories.
Thought that'd be fitting for our first episode. So
this is our origin story. We have issues here.
Forged in the fires. I'll kick it off with what do we got queued up? Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, year 1. Frank Miller. I think this came out after Dark Knight.
This was, I believe, his direct follow-up to The Dark Knight.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Novel.
Yeah.
This one was the direct follow-up to that.
Cool, yeah. So just kind of follows Bruce Wayne a year into, like a little bit before he decides, to become the Batman.
Right.
And then a year into, like, him actually being the Batman.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of him getting his like butt whooped and meeting his various foils that are going to be like coming after him throughout the rest of his career. It also has a really interesting parallel between him and Selena Kyle, who ends up becoming Catwoman. It shows a little bit of her origin, but they're actually, I think one of the free comics tomorrow is Selena Kyle origin story.
Oh, I did not see
issue
that.
1, I think. Yeah. So check that out if you guys are interested.
Free Comic Book Day.
They're free. I just think that those original Frank Miller Batman stories are just so good and inventive, and the way I got into comics was through Dark Knight, the movie.
Really?
Yeah. So I saw that movie and I was like, this is awesome. I had always been, even as a kid, into things that were comic book adjacent. Like I was very into Batman, very into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up.
TMNT.
Right? So when the Batman movie came out, and obviously it was such a masterpiece, and I was like, what was inspiring Christopher Nolan to, use these characters and these devices. So and I found out that Frank Miller's stories were some of the big influences for those movies. So I went out and picked up Dark Knight, and then I got Year One and Alan Moore's Killing Joke. A bunch of those early Batman stories, or not early, but kind of when there was the comics revival, I guess, in the 90s.
Right.
Things started getting a little bit edgier, and it wasn't all just, tights and underwear.
That's true.
But which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, so that's one of my big my favorite origin stories.
And it's really cool to go back when Frank Miller went back and did that, because there was so much information out there about Batman. I mean, 1939, Bob Kane, Bill Finger creating this character, and like all the changes that had happened up until this point. And then Miller's like, I'm going to bring it back to the origin of this, and I'm going to actually retell this. And to this day, it's still the one that is utilized. Like when they throw it back to origin in Batman's books, they throw it back to the year one origin, not actually like how he was this weird detective, detective back in the 30s and 40s, which is really neat. And you mentioned Alan Moore, and I know another one that you wanted to bring up was Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing is also amazing.
I've never read this.
You've never read this?
Never read
Oh, my God. So I recommend this to anybody who likes comics, likes Alan Moore, and is any kind of like sci-fi horror fantasy fan. So it's so good. Basically what was going on was that Swamp Thing was kind of a stagnant IP, and the editor at the time gave Alan Moore free reign to basically do whatever he wanted with the story. And there's just some really great things about the way he kind of changes up the origin. Alec Holland is this scientist in Louisiana who's basically studying, plant regrowth. Yeah. And they're trying to develop it's basically what's stem cells are now for people. This is what they were doing for like plants, essentially, so that they could regrow like rainforests super quickly and things like that. And Alec is in the swamps of Louisiana, and there's a explosion that's caused by this evil corporation who's trying to thwart his plans, and he ends up getting a bunch of this stuff on him in the explosion, and he jumps in the swamp. And usually an origin story like this would be that Alec Holland then becomes the Swamp Thing. Yeah. But what really happens is that Alec Holland dies in this swamp, but the regenerative formula kind of mixes with the swamp, and then the algae and plant matter in the swamp.
Comic books.
Yeah, exactly. It's high level stuff, guys. But basically the swamp is kind of eating up Alec Holland's like consciousness and memories, and then creates the Swamp Thing, who thinks that it is Alec Holland. Oh wow! So yeah, it's a real trip. And then this, the Swamp Thing is basically trying to figure out what and who it is. Yeah. It's
and this kicks it all off. This first book right here is the Saga of the Swamp Thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Alan Moore. I don't know. Have you guys seen the trailer for the movie? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Meh.
Yeah.
Meh.
I know. It's so
one of those
hard.
characters where it's like, cool.
Right.
Am I gonna Alan Moore writes the crap out of it, I'm sure.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
On screen, we'll see. We'll see how it works. I don't know, but that's really cool that you kind of the movie Dark Knight kind of threw you into the world of comics, and you just jumped feet first into Batman and cool shit like Swamp Thing and all that kind of stuff. That's really rad. I got to bring up, I'm wearing them on my shirt. I've been a Wolverine fan my entire life. When I was a kid, when I first started collecting comics, the first two comics I ever bought were a Wolverine book from his his first full run, because his first run is the Frank Miller 4-part miniseries. But then his first 180 issue run, I bought a comic from there, and I actually bought this comic right here, Cable #1, because of the gold lettering. I thought it was going to be worth $1 million one day, and it's not. But the cool thing about that book, even though it's not worth that much money, it's worth a lot to me because it's one of the first books I ever bought when I was a child. And I actually got to meet Fabian Nicieza, who co-created Deadpool and also wrote the Cable series back in the day. Oh, that's
amazing.
And I brought him the book, and I told him that whole story, and he was like, I'm sorry, but I'll sign this for you. He wasn't that huge a fan of it either. They were still working out Cable and all that stuff. But anyway, about Wolverine. Speaking of origin stories, so much about this character had been in mystery. He was, introduced in Hulk 181, and then was brought into the X-Men by Chris Claremont in Giant Size X-Men, and then subsequently X-Men 94, I believe, was the first issue where the new team featuring Wolverine was a part of the X-Men. And it wasn't even until, I believe, issue 110 of X-Men, issue 111, that he even revealed his name was Logan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then very little bits and pieces of his backstory started to come out. As the years and decades of comics kept going, you found out that he actually served in the war with Captain America. You found out that he's a lot older than you thought he was, but there still was a lot of mystery. And kind of in the same way where you were, brought into this story by something else, by a movie. Mm-hmm. I was playing, I believe it was the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Okay,
game.
Yeah.
And what's cool about that game, I think it was that game, you get like your little home base of all your heroes and everything, and there's mini games you can play to like level up, and one of them's a trivia game, right?
Oh.
And I was playing the trivia game, and I was crushing it because comic books, I love comic books. I was getting them all right, and a Wolverine question came up, and it was like, what is Wolverine's real name? And I was like, easy, Logan. Wrong. And I was like, what do you mean wrong? And it said the right answer was James Howlett. And I was like, and I literally was just like, my game is defective. I'm going back to GameStop. I'm bringing it back. His name is Logan. I've read all these books. I had never read this. This is the Joe Quesada Gemis book at Kubert Pencils, incredible, called Origin. It's a 5-issue arc all about Wolverine as a kid. His name, he grew up, James Howlett. You find out it was in the late 1800s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it is considered, outside of Apocalypse or Namor, Wolverine could technically be the first ever mutant.
Oh, wow.
Or at least first ever documented mutant. His family was based in Canada, and he was this young farm boy. And crazy situations happened, and then I do have, actually directly from the book, this image right here is him popping his claws for the very first time as he killed his dad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he has a tragic backstory.
Wow.
That as a super fan, I knew nothing about, because I was collecting comics up until about college. And then I had other things to buy, like beer.
Right.
So I stopped collecting comics. And then it was a little bit after college when I was playing that game, and I wasn't even collecting anymore. This is what brought me back to collecting comics.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Because I still had all my old comics. I loved, like I said, Wolverine was my favorite. And then I was like, holy crap, I thought I knew everything about this character. Now I have to go back and get all of that. And I did. And I'm proud to say I have every single Wolverine issue there is.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Anything that says Wolverine on the cover. It's beautiful to me. My wife is a little sad. We have way too many comic books in my house, but it's okay. It's okay. But I cannot say enough good things about this. Oops, let me take this down. I see there's too many things to do. I'm going to take that down. About this book right here, Origin. This is the trade paperback. You can look for it at your local comic shop on Free Comic Book Day. I 100% say pick it up. It is an incredible, incredible story. So let's end this by talking about some of the lines that we're reading now that we're really stoked about.
Yeah, for sure.
Kick it off wherever you want. I got images.
So we'll kick it off with Murder Falcon.
Murder Falcon. Have you guys heard of this book? Murder Falcon?
The guys down at Aquilonia are great because they just give me stuff, and they're like, hey, maybe you'll like this. And I always end up liking everything.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point to bring up. It's a rarity that a local comic book shop, someone who works at a local comic book shop, is not a friendly person. It's a rarity.
Very rare.
I grew up with a terrible comic book shop.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a short little anecdote. Our local shop that was in Saratoga when I was a kid was not the Comic Depot. It was this other shop. And the guy that ran it was a DC fan. Now, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
But he refused to put Marvel books on his wall, like big ticketed ones, refused to put that in there. And if you bought Marvel books, which I did all the time because make mine Marvel, he would chastise you and make fun of you at the counter.
Oh, my God.
And I'm a 10-year-old boy getting made fun of by a grown man, and it's his business. And it made me feel terrible to go into this shop. But that's a rarity. Like, more often than not, if you frequent your local comic book shop, become friends with the people behind the counter.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll totally want to push books on you.
Absolutely.
I have learned about so many lines that I love to this day just from the guy behind the counter being like, yo, check out Murder Falcon.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy. And, shout out Bob at Aquilonia. He always says that he doesn't even have to sell the books because the books sell themselves. You just have to know which ones to pick up. So it's totally true. But Murder Falcon's great. It's a really unique story about a kid going through a hard time, and some otherworldly monsters start attacking his city, and out of nowhere comes Murder Falcon, this badass Rambo Falcon looking guy. And he
has to play the guitar to summon him, though, right?
Murder Falcon is powered by metal. And
I mean, why aren't you reading this book?
It's just incredible. I can't really say enough about it. And I don't want to give too much away, but if you are I'm not even a huge metal head or metal guy. I definitely like some metal bands.
Get out. No,
I'm sorry. What am I doing here? But it's just the storytelling and it just everything about it. The artwork is so great, and the premise is just fantastic.
Put out by Skybound Entertainment, which is an offshoot of Image. When Robert Kirkman was desperately trying to get his black and white zombie book that you might have heard about, The Walking Dead, made. He was just trying to make ends meet, and now he owns his own comic book company called Skybound.
Yeah,
it's
insane.
He puts out some of the greatest titles out there because he's always looking for people with crazy ideas to because fun fact, I mean, we are on a comic book show. I'll go off on a tangent. Fun fact about Robert Kirkman. Did you know what his book was before The Walking Dead?
I feel like I'm going to know when you say it, but...
It was a book called Battle Pope.
Oh, right. Battle Pope, holy shit, yeah.
Which is batshit crazy and exactly what you think. It's a pope that battles things. And, it was one of those crazy ideas that nobody wanted to publish except Image picked it up and published it.
Yeah.
And that was where he got his foot in the door to actually do The Walking Dead, which is now one of the biggest books in the world.
Yeah.
But Murder Falcon, I can't get over how great that is.
Kirkman has so many good books. It's crazy.
Yeah, he really does.
Walking Dead, Outcast,
Invincible.
Yeah. Die.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So good.
Genius.
So let's see. What else you got? Oh, here's one that you were talking about that you read that I've never picked up. Paper Girls. Oh my God. This is the brand new issue that just came out.
That's the latest issue. My girlfriend has read it. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
But
so let me spoil it for you.
Yeah. But if you are a Stranger Things fan, I won't say that it is exactly like that, but it does follow, group of paper girls in small town USA.
Like newspaper girls?
Like newspaper girls in
10 cents for a picture. Like that?
Well, they have their own routes. Back in the day, I know some of you kids won't understand this, but people would load up their messenger bags and go deliver papers throughout the neighborhood.
So you're telling me people used to read words printed on a paper?
That's right.
Really? That's how they got their news? What was this world you speak?
Insanity. But yeah, so
this is not a superhero book at all.
Well, it is a superhero book.
Oh.
Because some crazy things go down in this world that these girls inhabit, and it's up to them to figure out exactly what's going on. And it kind of devolves into this time travel science fiction world of craziness. So.
Issue 28 just came out, so I mean, we're all not too far behind.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
And it's written by Brian K. Vaughan, who does Saga, Why the Last Man.
Wow, I'll definitely have to pick this up.
Yeah,
I've heard
Ex
you talk
Machina.
about it a couple times.
Yeah, it's really great.
Again,
really
why
great.
I wanted to do this show, and I thought this was a great idea that you brought up doing this show, is because not only are you guys at home being able to hear about some books maybe you've never done or picked up, but me too.
Yeah, we can recommend each other some books.
Yeah, exactly. So Paper Girls, that's cool. So and then you brought this up. Let's just go right there. Saga.
Oh my God, yeah, Saga is amazing.
One of my picks too, books that I've been reading. It's currently on hiatus. This is issue 54. I see it right there. This is issue 54, and it came out at the end of last year, and it was the culmination of the story arc that happened in the book at that point. I'm not giving away any spoilers, but it was crazy cool.
Oh my God, yeah.
And basically, Brian K. Vaughan is just not putting out something immediately. We're going to get more story.
Yep.
But he's taken a break from this book to put out other stuff. And it's a crazy, crazy story. It opens up basically from the point of view of a young girl and telling the story of how her parents met is how it kind of started. But picture aliens, picture robots, picture an incredible galactic war.
Yeah.
This book blew my mind. Again, my local comic shop, Comic Depot, actually the guys behind the counter were like, you have to check this book out. And I was like, I don't know.
Right.
You know, like I'm collecting enough crap. I don't need to collect any more crap. They're like, no, this is right up your alley. You got to check it out. And I loved it, but I checked it out around issue, I want to say like 20, issue 15 or 20, around there. And at that point, this book had taken off to the point where issue number 1 was a $100 book.
Yeah.
At that point. And I was like, man, I love this line, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to find it. That Comic Depot worked hard to find me the first 20 issues at a decent price. I got them all first prints and was able to get them. You know, I was able to get all of them with that number 1, and you know, it was a chunk of change, but I mean, I didn't. When it all worked out, I didn't pay $100 for that first.
Oh, that's insane.
You know, so that was really, really awesome. So I own the whole line, which is really rad.
Yeah,
I love this line. Eye-opening.
Yeah.
Of what you can do with comic books.
Oh my God, yeah, the world building in itself is just insane.
Yeah.
And a little bit more is like the young girl, her parents are from 2 different races that
Romeo
are actually
and Juliet kind of
it's
thing.
a Romeo and Juliet
Yep.
kind of thing. They're both in 2 races of planet that is currently in a civil war, so they have to go on the run, and that's kind of the gist of the book.
Yeah.
At first, but
bounty hunters, spies, monsters, crazy,
craziness.
And it was cool too. I remember a story actually when this was just starting to take off, and I just started to read it. I wasn't like fully caught up yet, and I went down to New York Comic Con, and there were so many cosplaying from this book, and I was just walking around like, what are these weird aliens and these dudes with TVs on their heads? Like, what the hell is happening? Like, what are you from? You know, and like, they'd be like, oh, I'm from Saga, and it's like, oh, I gotta read more of this book.
I know,
it's really rad.
That's crazy.
So I absolutely love that book. I wanted to bring up one of the books that I've been reading pretty much regularly since it came out, and I mentioned it earlier, was The Walking Dead.
So good.
Do you read The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I'm all caught up.
All caught up. This is the brand new issue, came out this week?
Yeah, I think it was last week, yeah.
Issue 191, which actually crushed it so hard that it just was announced today. It has been made into second print, and they're making a second print of this, which is rare for this book nowadays.
They print so many of them the first time. It's crazy that they have a second print.
Another book that nobody knew was going to make it. You know, when issue 1 of this book came out, they printed maybe a couple thousand of them, and that first issue, first print, goes for anywhere between $2,000 and $20,000 now.
Yeah,
you know, depending on the quality of the book that you have.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
I have my collection of Walking Dead since we started collecting. My wife was the one who got into it first, and she was like, you have to read this, you have to read this. And I was like, it's black and white. I want color in my comics. And superheroes, there's no capes. It's all zombies. Like, I don't need any of that crap. You know, so I like put it off for a very long time, and then I finally picked it up, and we bought all the trades. So I started reading it from the beginning and just completely fell in love with it. It was right before the show started. And I was like, holy crap, this book is so well written. It's so cool how The Walking Dead are us, you know, not the zombies.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really awesome. And it's a roller coaster of a story. And so since then, we started collecting at around issue, like I said, this is issue 191. We started collecting around issue 65. And I've been working hard. Every con I go to is trying to fill in those gaps.
Oh,
but
nice.
those first few books I'll never own because they're worth
it's
the
insane.
earliest book I own is a number 3.
Oh, wow.
And,
That's good. That's good.
Actually, the owner of the Comic Depot, Darren, who passed away tragically, he gifted Trish that issue for her 30th birthday, which was amazing.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So that's like the oldest book I'll ever own. You know, from that, 'cause I'll never get a number 1 or number 2, but that's fine. But yeah, if you guys are fans of the show, you have no idea what's coming when it comes to the comics, because the comics are about, I would say at this point, probably 4 or 5 years in the future from where
the show is
the
now.
show is now.
Yeah.
And the show, so much is on the show happened that does not happen in the books. Big examples are the character of Carol is alive on the show. Mm-hmm. She died very early in the books.
Yeah.
Carl is now dead on the show. Mm-hmm. Is still alive in the books.
Right.
Like Daryl, Norman Reedus' character, only exists on the show. There is no comic book correlation with him. So being a fan of the show, I can't say enough. Pick up the books because the comics are a whole other story.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And that's what Kirkman wanted to do setting out.
Yeah.
He was very adamant that the show and the comics be their own separate things so that people who were fans of both could enjoy them both simultaneously without really ruining anything for themselves or, anything like that. And it's always like for me, it's a pleasant surprise when something happens in the books that happens in the show or vice versa. It's always kind of cool. But it almost never happens now.
Almost never happens. If you guys are caught up on the show, there was a big reveal this season where a lot of characters happened to meet their demise in a very spiky way, and that was directly from the comics. But they changed all of the
series
details
of events
around it.
Yeah.
So it's cool how they're able to do that. It's fun to see somebody like Kirkman who got his start actually writing on Marvel Zombies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was a line back in, I want to say, early 2000s, where it just like you think there's another universe of Marvel superheroes, but there's a zombie outbreak, and they all turn into zombies. And so you have like Zombie Wolverine and Hulk like fighting each other and eating each other's brains and stuff like that. And Kirkman got to start there, and then he wanted to write this zombie book and never thought, it would do well. Just wanted to do something in the world of comics, and actually has become this juggernaut of a thing, where he's one of the biggest creators in the business right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
So
that is definitely a book that you guys want to go check out. But we're gonna do this show more. We're gonna talk about books that we love, that are current, books that we love from back in the day. And I hope you guys keep tuning in because we were kind of putting ideas together. You came up with this idea to do this show and kind of put ideas together. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's just jump right in. I'm glad for all of you guys who were watching us live today. You'll be able to find this up on YouTube. And then we're going to keep doing this show. And I want to get some special guests in here, get some more employees who are comic book fans.
Yeah.
We know a lot of comic book creators, writers, and artists here at Death Wish Coffee. And hopefully get them involved too. And you can follow everything we do at Death Wish Coffee and at Fueled by Deathcast. Mike, I think this was a successful first episode.
This was a blast, Jeff. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome. So have a wonderful Friday, guys. Don't forget, tomorrow, May the 4th be with you, and head to your local comic book store for Free Comic Book Day. Load up on free comics, and while you're there, pick up something. Support your local business. Get those free books for sure, but buy a book too. Buy a trade paperback. Sure. Buy something cool. We'll be back with a new show very, very soon.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Peace out.